and I would have voted for Gary Johnson in this last election, but Bill Weld endorsed Hillary Clinton at the last minute. And I thought, what a, I don't know, what a dick move. And so for that, out of spite, I voted for Trump. And since then,
Libertarian delegates, write that down.
Yeah. My name's Jeremy Oliver. I'm here today for Freedom Fest. I'm from San Diego.
And you are particularly well decked out. Do we have this whole shirt in the shot here? Keep calm and QAnon and the Q hat, and I don't even know what this is. You want to turn like that? What is that? I'm sorry to try to like turn your head into the camera there, but hashtag WWG1WGA.
You haven't heard of that yet? Man, got to be the last person then. Where we go, one we go all. That's kind of the hashtag that you could find a lot of information about QAnon and people that follow it. Of course, like anything, everything that you find isn't going to be accurate, so it takes a little bit of discernment and time really researching and seeing what's come from.
Okay, so for people who don't know, what is QAnon and why is it important to you?
What is QAnon? It's basically a government psyop that is meant to disseminate information in a way that alerts the public through kind of back channels to subvert mainstream media, who's not going to tell us that the elite in our society is run by pedophiles and thieves. So the QAnon theory is one that there was a coup against against this election to make sure that Hillary Clinton won. And in response, people within our government initiated a counter coup d'etat. And this was unlike any other in history, not done by guns and warfare, but done on the internet. And so the theory goes that President Trump is aware of this. He knows he's been involved with the elites for a long time, so he knows what's been going on. And people within our government have teamed up with him to ensure that people will be eliminated, the swamp will be drained, thus the layer of protection that's been keeping these people safe and able to do these horrible things will be removed, and then they could be prosecuted. And we're seeing that in, for instance, the prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein, who has been prosecuted many times with no success because of that layer of protection.
Right. I was actually about to ask you, and still a good follow-up then, what is the significance of the Epstein case, and what aside from one guy going down, because I think based on what you're saying, it's not about Epstein himself, it's about the network and the actual political power players and power brokers who are kind of behind that and associated with, who might be taken down by that. So what do you think is the significance, and why are you hopeful about the Epstein case?
Well, people are talking about Epstein, but even going back before that, we've got NXIVM that came out. And these are all these major networks of child traffickers, human traffickers, and pedophiles. And so, they're all connected. In every way they're connected, and you could throw the Church of Scientology in there with them and put them all in a blender and hit frappe. They're all the same club. They're all just moving people around the country. China's involved, Mexico's involved. Look at Cisco, not Costco, but I'm sorry, Costco, company out of Long Beach, shipping company that Trump just recently made divest of their shares in our port of Long Beach. And he shut down a huge human trafficking operation in that move alone, and no one is going to talk about it.
Okay, so there's a bit of a sort of trick setup to this interview. Jeremy's actually someone who is familiar with my work and recognized me here at Freedom Fest. So there are a lot of people who do that, and you never know where they're coming from. So I got to ask, do you describe yourself as a voluntarist? Or what is your, if not, what is your philosophical worldview grounding?
I've read your book. You sent me your book a while back. So actually you sent me the online version of it. And so I listened to that. I don't prescribe to all of that. I don't prescribe specifically to open borders.
Well, I'm not for open borders. I'm for private property borders.
Okay.
Government borders are illegitimate borders. Private property borders can be as open and closed as the owners want them to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an important distinction,
right.
Because it's not saying because when you say open borders, a lot of people associate that with, well, you want me to have to associate with whoever happens to be around, or by government, false incentives is now in my neighborhood. And we're not saying that. It's that the government border itself is illegitimate.
Yeah, I'm more prescribed to the beliefs of Ron Paul, the true Ron Paul kind of.
Well, Ron Paul actually came out at Anarchapulco last year and said that the ultimate goal is to get government down to zero. And he's also, in my interview with him, described me as a voluntarist. Right. But you're saying you're in the way that he was a constitutionalist.
Yeah, exactly.
The platform that he ran on as a presidential candidate, you're that kind of libertarian Republican constitutionalist.
I went to the Republican Party with Ron Paul, not to be a Republican, but to change the Republican Party and bring them to the Libertarian Party.
All right. So we have a slight distinction here in our worldviews. And so, Jeremy, I want to kind of.
I followed you and I supported you, and I like in your run, because I always backed the libertarian voice.
And you're smart enough and open-minded enough to see the allies in the sector who are pulling towards freedom.
Absolutely. When it came down to a Republican and a Democrat, I voted Libertarian. Up until the point, I would have voted for Gary Johnson in this last election, but Bill Weld endorsed Hillary Clinton at the last minute, and I thought, what a dick move. And so for that, out of spite, I voted for Trump. And since then,
Libertarian delegates, write that down.
I tell you what, I voted for Trump, and I haven't been disappointed with that. I was nervous about that vote. Yeah. It wasn't going to be Hillary, obviously.
No, so that's a perfect setup for this last big question that I want to ask you relating to QAnon and Trump and these other dynamics, because I've taken a sort of general position as an attitude towards this, like, if Trump really is doing something meaningful, changing the system, that is taking down pedophiles, that is standing for justice, I'm for that. That's great, and I in and of itself, obviously wholeheartedly support that, and I have no qualm saying take out everybody in the establishment attached to this, even close to it.
Right. I see a big part of that though is closing our borders, because that's where it's coming through. I mean, I know traffickers. I know.
Hold on, but if you solve the problems, of the child trafficking and the prostitution in secret and all the things, if you legalize it, if you bring it all out in the open, and you allow for the free flow of human capital separately, like, that problem mostly goes away and is solved. But I don't want to get into debating that, because we're just acknowledging that that's a distinction in our worldview. That's fine. Sure. But what I was getting at is that, with even the other good stuff that you could give Trump credit for, like challenging America's relationship with the media, I love that. But in that sense, it's really people like Alex Jones and Cenk Uygur who deserve the credit for that, and he's kind of, and me a little bit, he's kind of riding that wave, right? Yeah, but everybody who's built up the concept of independent media in America over the last 2 decades.
Things, right? That's
absolutely.
That's where a lot of
Breitbart was a huge force in that.
That's where we came from.
So, similarly, anything that comes out of Trump doesn't change the fact to me that he's a statist, that he's still saying, I want to be the central planner, I want to be the kinder, gentler tyrant. And if
he's working with what he's got, though, at the same time, because I think I see Trump as more libertarian principles than anybody else out there.
Who's advocated for socialized medicine, who's advocated for taking away bump stocks.
Who shook hands with Little Kim. And he's out there.
I like that. So
he's gotten us out of wars. He's ended ISIS the right way. We've been telling him what you got to do to end ISIS, right? And they continued to go the opposite direction.
Thank you for pointing that out, because the foreign policy, for me as an anti-war veteran, war is the health of the state. The violent crimes of war, the worst evil that government's capable of with, and that is huge for me. I don't know if Donald Trump is more of a force pulling that, or if he's responsive to that, if he's just riding the wave, like that you could be the Republican in 2016 saying the war in Iraq was bullshit in the primary and get elected. He didn't make that possible. He recognized it and he did it. And similarly, it's harder for the military-industrial complex to lie to us and make war. And yet, under Trump, military spending, federal government spending, everything, all these fundamental dynamics about government keep going on, keep getting worse.
It's harder to sell weapons if Lil Kim isn't a danger in the region, though.
They've managed to sell plenty of weapons and manufacture.
Are we still dropping as many bombs a day?
Of course not. It's down historically overall. But
on that one.
So there's the lack of. So anyway, again, So my point is that I look at those bigger issues. And what I want to put my effort towards as an activist, this is where, Jeremy, I'm really respecting Jeremy here as an activist, You're someone who's motivated by a deep-seated sense of injustice. You want to do something about it. And I want to give you the chance to really answer this with a meaningful why for you, because what I have chosen to do is say, I'm not going to get involved with the Trump drama, the political theater, because he sucks up so much attention. And it's to bullshit mostly, and you understand what I mean. Even for the legitimate stuff, a lot of what Trump does is just give me attention. Let's just distract people, and let's make politics this conflict on Twitter. And that's fine. I don't hold
and as
that.
much as people say they hate it, the day that he leaves Twitter and goes to any other platform, right, it's over for Twitter, and that other platform goes through the roof.
Possibly,
right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll be something blockchain and decentralized.
Watching and commenting on every single.
Well, thing. I don't.
They hire people to get in his feed just to respond to it, like they did with you, and I mean that's.
So I don't though. Like I deliberately ignore this, and to me, I'm enticed. I'm intrigued by what people like you say is the potential of coming out of QAnon, and I'll give a quiet shout out to my friend whose initials are BF in San Diego about this, and he'll know who I'm talking about. But I would rather focus on the big picture. I would rather focus on waking people up rather than sort of rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, even if it's a better configuration, even if it means, and again, I'm not against fighting pedophiles. I'm really excited about this possibility that we see of a significant shift coming through the Epstein case and everything else that a lot of people I think want to give Trump a little too much credit for. I'd rather focus on the long term, waking people up, taking advantage of this as a teachable moment. And because when you say Trump is the one who's doing this, it's sort of re-entrenching, reinforcing statism, right?
Understood.
So what is the appeal? Why do you make the choice to take your effort as an activist and come here investing in QAnon specifically?
Well, first of all, the QAnon is a group of people. There is an element that is Trump, and when it's signed off Q+, that is specifically Trump, is what we believe. But the
Trump himself,
and the wording matches tweets, and the timing that they're released are used as proofs because they're dropped at the same time as his regular tweets with using the same words, and so I mean there's some pretty intricate things, but in that it's a group of people, and we're to believe that a majority of them are military, like 6 of them are from military out of say 10. You're familiar, I know, with Dr. Steve Pachinik?
No.
Okay, so definitely I would recommend looking up Dr. Steve Pachinik. He worked as a hostage negotiator for our government for many administrations. He was involved with the assassination of Aldemaro. So, unstabling governments was kind of his thing, and then talking down CIA as a shrink he was also the voice behind Michael Crichton's books. So he announced on YouTube 8 days before the election, 2016, November 1st, he said, a group of us in the armed forces and military have teamed up with Trump, and we're going to make sure that this election goes as planned, and it's not hijacked, and just kind of everything that spells out Q. So that's someone that I would recommend you check out. Also, QAnon.pub, QMAP.pubs. QMAP.pub is the list of all the verified communications, and it's just one of those things that you could go in there and read for yourself, and there's a lot of information, a lot of foretelling of the things. At this point, the foretelling's gone, and now it's like it's a lot of bragging. It's like, you see, here it's all coming to pass. So,
all right, Jeremy. Thank you for your work, and thank you for your time, your thoughtful answers here. I'm going to give you one last question of the day to respond to here. Would America be better off without the federal government, and why or why not?
I'm big on limited government, but I believe a limited federal government is probably important too.
Well, how do you limit it geographically? How big should it be geographically? Because that's what we're talking about. If you say you want a constitutional government, you can still have it at the state level.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's an interesting question, honestly. It's not something I thought about all day today, and like I have been like this, I'm not I'm not focused on it. But
I think it's a question a lot more Americans should consider.
Yeah, and absolutely, I'll agree with you on that. Because we all are calling for a limited government. So the question is, how limited? And man, Ron Paul saying it should be zero. You got to agree with
Well, I think what Ron Paul and I would.
That's a dream. That's a utopia, and I'm all for it. But
Well, I think what we would agree
we could
on as people who believe in the voluntarist ethic ideal is to say you can have as much government as you want as long as it's voluntary. In which case, it wouldn't really be government, maybe by our definition today, but that if we get government localized, you're way more likely to get that. But Jeremy, I appreciate your time. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much. Anything else you want to say as a last word or something to plug?
no, I just, you asked me earlier what got me into activism, and it was just looking at the TV and being tired of yelling at it and not doing anything about it. Looking at your videos, looking at other people's videos, and Ben Swan and who's your buddy that you'd run around with at the Bilderberg?
Luke Rudowski back in the day with Adam versus the Man on RT.
Yeah, that was some good stuff. And so,
I have more of a Russian connection than Donald Trump. I don't know why people aren't like invest. Like really, I thought that would be like my edge in this election, that I get the attention of all the Trumpkins like yourself to be like, wait, Kokesh is the one with the real Russian connection. He worked for RT, but no. But you'd rather ignore a message that's really challenging things.
Absolutely. No, I just encourage people to get off their couch and do something, even on a local level, even if it's just going and registering your neighbors to vote and talking politics and religion when it's uncomfortable is what needs to be done, because limiting discussion is just been festering the problem. So we're at the point where people need to get out and engage discussion.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jeremy. Beautiful. Likewise.
Adam.
Oh, so you watch my videos, now you get to be in one.
Adam versus the Man is made possible with support from SmartCash. Check out smartcash.cc to find out more about this powerful, business-focused cryptocurrency that is fast, easy to use, and community-centric. SmartCash is designed to be securely used for day-to-day transactions and put the currency back in cryptocurrency.